Valverde ended up in the hospital with a head wound. Both players were fined $590,000 each, and Arbeloa just stood in front of the cameras and said, "It was my fault." The Real Madrid crisis just took another extraordinary turn, and El Clásico is tomorrow night. Welcome to Soccer World News. We have everything from today's Arbeloa press conference, and it was one of the most remarkable pre-match media appearances you will ever see from a head coach. Let's get into it. First, the full picture of what actually happened, because new details have emerged that make this situation even more serious than the initial reports suggested. The conflict between Valverde and Tchouameni did not happen just once. According to Sportsmole, the two players first clashed on Wednesday during training. That confrontation was not resolved. Then on Thursday, the day after, they had a second, more serious altercation, and this time, it escalated to the point where Valverde ended up at the hospital. The official version from Real Madrid is that Valverde hit his head on a table during the confrontation. Valverde himself called it a meaningless fight in a brief statement, but the result is concrete and undeniable. He received treatment for a traumatic head injury and has been ruled out for 10 to 14 days. He will not be available for El Clásico tonight. One of Real Madrid's most important midfielders out of their biggest game of the season because of a fight with a teammate. Real Madrid acted swiftly. The club launched an internal investigation immediately. Both players were summoned to meet with club officials, where they apologized to each other and to the club. And then came the financial punishment. Both Valverde and Tchouameni were fined €500,000 each. That is $590,000 per player for one incident. Real Madrid sent a message. This is not acceptable, regardless of what is happening with the season. Now, let's talk about Arbeloa's press conference, because this is where the story gets genuinely remarkable. Speaking to reporters at Ciudad Real Madrid on Saturday morning, his first public appearance since the fight became public, Arbeloa did something you almost never see from a head coach. He took personal responsibility. He said flat out, "The fight between Valverde and Tchouameni was my fault." He explained that it was the intensity of the training session he designed, a session aimed at preparing the squad for El Clásico, that created the environment where emotions boiled over and the confrontation happened. Then he defended both players with genuine passion. He refused to condemn them publicly, saying he would not burn them on a pyre in a town square. His exact words. He called Valverde and Tchouameni two players who represent everything Real Madrid stands for, invoking the memory of club legend Juanito, a passionate, combative player who also made mistakes, but gave everything for the badge every single day. He also pushed back hard on the media narrative of the past week, categorically denying reports that players were refusing to talk to him, that players were not selected because of personal issues with him, or that any player had disrespected him. His words were direct. It is an absolute lie. Just as it is a lie that any of them aren't playing because of issues with me, or because of their lives outside Real Madrid. And then came his angriest moment, not directed at Valverde, not at Tchouameni, but at whoever leaked the story to Marca in the first place. Arbeloa called it a betrayal of Real Madrid, saying that what happens in the dressing room must stay in the dressing room. He was visibly furious about the leak. That tells you something important. Arbeloa views the internal culture breakdown, the loss of confidentiality, as a bigger crisis than the fight itself. So what does all of this mean for the game itself? El Clásico takes place tonight at Camp Nou in Barcelona, and the situation for Real Madrid could hardly be more difficult. Valverde, arguably Madrid's most important player over the past 2 seasons, the engine of everything they do in midfield, is out with his head injury. 10 to 14 days of medical leave. The man who scores goals from midfield, covers ground relentlessly, and leads by example will not be on the pitch tonight. Tchouameni is available, Arbeloa confirmed. The club chose not to issue a sporting suspension on top of the financial fine. That is significant. It means Arbeloa has his defensive midfielder for the biggest game of the season. But playing alongside who? With Valverde out, Madrid's midfield is seriously depleted. And what is at stake tonight? Barcelona only need a draw at Camp Nou to be mathematically crowned La Liga champions. If Real Madrid lose, Barcelona celebrate the title on their own turf in front of their own fans against their fiercest rivals. For Madrid, that is the absolute worst possible outcome. A humiliation on top of a catastrophic week. Arbeloa insists his team is ready. In the press conference, he said they approach El Clásico with the ambition to do things well and go for the win. He has no choice but to say that. But managing a squad that has been through the week Real Madrid just had fights, hospital visits, 6-figure fines, a media firestorm, a petition with millions of signatures against your star player, and somehow channeling all of that into a performance at Camp Nou against the best team in Spain. That is a monumental ask of any coach, let alone one who has only been in the job since January. Let's zoom out for a second, because the Valverde-Tchouaméni fight, as dramatic as it is really just the latest chapter in a season-long implosion at Real Madrid. Arbeloa took charge in January, promoted from the reserve team after Xabi Alonso was let go. He is 43 years old. He has never managed a senior club before. He inherited one of the most expensive squads on the planet, and the season has fallen apart. No Champions League, almost certainly no La Liga, no Copa del Rey, a petition signed by millions against Mbappé, players fighting each other at training. A dressing room leak that has embarrassed the club globally. Multiple reports in Spain describe it as almost certain that Arbeloa will be replaced at the end of the season. Jose Mourinho remains the leading candidate to take over, and yet here he is the day before El Clásico, standing at that podium, taking personal responsibility for a training ground brawl, defending his players, refusing to throw anyone under the bus. Whatever you think of his coaching ability, that press conference today showed something. It showed a man trying to hold his club together under extraordinary pressure. Real Madrid will rebuild this summer. Mourinho or whoever comes next will inherit a squad that clearly needs surgery, culturally, tactically, and possibly in terms of its most high-profile player. But that is a summer problem. Tonight, it is El Clásico. And somehow through all of this, Real Madrid have to play soccer. Valverde in the hospital, Tchouameni fined $590,000. Arbeloa saying the fight was his fault, a leak he calls a betrayal. And El Clásico in a matter of hours. This has been the most chaotic week at any major soccer club in recent memory, and it is happening at Real Madrid with the whole world watching. Can Real Madrid hold it together tonight at Camp Nou? Drop your prediction in the comments, final score right now. And subscribe to Soccer World News. We will have the full El Clásico reaction up as soon as the final whistle blows. See you tonight.